Initiative. My name is Rose Wachkona, and I am. I am the Deputy Executive Director for this place. We are very happy to host you. Don't worry, the teas are coming later on and the food, so prepare your stomachs. But in the interim, I'm going to hand over to our moderator for the day, that is Isabel Akiteng, who's going to take us through the entire program.
Good afternoon to you all. It's lovely to see you all, and I would like you to just turn to your neighbor and smile. There are some of you who are really not smiling at your neighbors. Please smile at your neighbor and then compliment your neighbor. Like, compliment them in a way that you will see the result of your compliment in their eyes. Of course, my neighbors are really going to suffer on this because I'm giving instructions, but please compliment each other. So there are some of you who are looking like your neighbors did not compliment you. So if you're a neighbor and your person is still not smiling or looking like they have come alive, please do better. Okay. So now that we've done that, I'm going to ask, we're going to do a round of introductions because each of us in this space, I believe, is very keen on their safety, both physically and the digital is there. And I want to believe that we've signed consent forms to be part of this conversation. But we also need to know that our neighbors are not terrorists. So we are going to introduce ourselves. And in introducing yourself, I'd like you to mention your name. And I'd like you to then say one thing that you're grateful for today. So there are some of you who have stopped paying attention. That means you're going to be lost midway this thing. So your name, one thing that you're grateful for, and the third thing is what is your message of solidarity on this day that we celebrate today. If you don't know the day we are celebrating today, we are really going to ask you to go. But let's start with the last table, and then we will move towards the promised land, which is this one. And I'm going to ask the DJ that while we are doing this, it's okay to play music, although it should be very gentle, like the one you've been playing, but at a lower volume. Also, it's okay to stay at your seat. But Elizabeth has set the pace. Now all of you are going to have to move to the plant. But yes.
Hi. Yes, I'm Liz Achola. I work here with the Women's Pro Bono. Word of solidarity. Yes, I'll go with my body, my choice. And what's the other assignment? One thing I'm grateful for. Just on the top of my head, today I'm grateful for food. I've been hungry, now I've eaten, so I'm grateful for the gift of food.
We give thanks for the right to food.
Yes.
Yes. Next.
Those who are hungry, sorry.
Maria said that the snacks are on their way, so don't mind Elizabeth.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Babiri Daman. I work with the Women's Pro Bono Initiative. The solidarity, I could say, healing is recognized. Healing is recognized. Is there the wound? What I'm happy for is I appreciate that I'm still alive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nancy Mashivan. I work with Quality Health. I'm so happy that I made it here. So at least I appreciate for the gift of life. And for my word of solidarity, I think I'll say it later.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, good people, when someone says good afternoon, stand in solidarity with them by responding. Yes, next.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name's Mwangu Cecile Navuga. For solidarity, I'll explain later. I'm so happy to be in this place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Angel. I'm good. I'm so grateful for life. I'm so grateful that I'm alive today. My solidarity message, I think I'll borrow Lizzie's message. My body, my choice. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Age Charade. I'm so grateful for my life. And my message for today is no one should tell you how to use your body.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brenda Nakabonge from We Are Women of Uganda. And my solidarity message today is abortion is health care. And let's keep stopping the stigma. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monica. My solidarity message is our reproductive rights are human rights.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sanyu Hilda. I'm from Center for Women Justice Uganda. My word of solidarity is that bad things happen, but they don't define us. Oh, I'm delighted to be here. It's my first time, so I am happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Jasper Twesige. I'm a law student, third year law student at Cavendish University, Uganda. I've been a peer educator for the past 4 years. Initially, I was volunteering with the Infectious Disease Institute. Now I'm volunteering with Reach Out Mbuya Community Health Initiative. And I'm also happy. This is my first time here. I'm happy to meet Madame Rose, Madame Rahom, still at the command center. So my message, my solidarity message, I'm a person who believes in a stigma-free environment, just like one of the participants has said. So I believe if we can be champions of unity, love, we can have a very good society. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ngobi Esther. I'm a law student. I'm grateful to be here at this event and I'm grateful for life. My solidarity message is together we can build a future with reproductive justice.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Alum. I'm from Act 101, Uganda. Forgive me, I'm fearing to see myself at the screen. My solidarity message. There are so many. But the one that stands out the most is it's okay to fall and stand again. Tomorrow is another day for new opportunities. Yes, thank you so much. I am grateful for life. I'm grateful to God for good health. I am grateful for money. I'm grateful for the end of the month because it is salary week. Yeah, I'm grateful for so many things. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Ageno Julian is my name. I'm the Vice President, Cavendish Law Society, and I'm grateful to be here. I would love to take this opportunity to thank Women Pro Bono for coming at school. That would be the first thing I would be grateful for. And then also I'm grateful for life. Then my solidarity message is abortion has to be something that we don't have to be stigmatized about. Thank you.
My name is Komhendo Bridget. I'm from Cavendish University. My solidarity message is you always have a choice. So give yourself time to always think about it. And today I'm grateful that it's my last day as a 23-year-old. Tomorrow I'm going to be 24. And on top of that, my friend celebrated me today. It was a surprise. I'm so grateful about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esther Buntu. First of all, I'm grateful for the gift of life. Secondly, my solidarity message. I'll borrow what's on this card. My body, my choice. And I work with the Shiloh's Foundation as the Partnerships Associate. Good to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had already introduced myself. My name is Rose Wachkona. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at Women's Pro Bono Initiative. What I'm grateful for is family, my sisters. I love them so much, and I thank God for them. My solidarity message, let's decriminalize abortion, you people. Tulibako, being told all the time what we can or cannot do with our bodies is just a no.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlotte Naziwa. I work here at the Women's Pro Bono Initiative. I am so grateful for life and the opportunity to get to interact with quite a number of people with different perspectives. And my solidarity message is, I'll borrow from this. Never underestimate the power of sharing your story. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. How are you? My name is Solomon Chesache. Baliojuse, I work here as a legal officer. And my solidarity message is to the gentlemen. I think there's only one that I have seen so far, plus the technicians. Yes, let's join the struggle in supporting women's rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Diana Navimanya. I work with FemFort. My solidarity message is my uterus, my rules. No one should be telling me how to go about my body and my life. And I'm grateful for life and grateful for my parents. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Nakiseta Mwesige. I work here as the operations manager. I'm grateful for life, grateful for job, grateful for many nice things that have happened in my life. Then my solidarity message is never relent. Yes, let's not stop this struggle. for abortion rights. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Helena Sakisa, serving at Farmfort, Uganda. And what I'm grateful for is I'm grateful for life, but also I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn. And my solidarity message is safe abortion is a human right.
Hi everyone. My name is Bukirwa Rahom Maria. You can call me Marie. I work here and I'm grateful that our invite was honored. I'm also grateful for the nice weather. I have been praying about it. Yes, so I'm happy to see all your faces. My solidarity message is let's be our sisters' keepers. Yes, let's stand together for each other. No judgment, and we will do this together. Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Mercy Hopper War. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I work with Kalikumotima and Company Advocates. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. I came on invitation, and thank you so much. My solidarity message is that women already have a voice. People have to listen. We don't have to find the voice, but people have to listen to the voice that we have. And women have to be empowered to use the voices that you already have. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone. And at this point, we're going to dive straight into the podcast conversation for today. And I'm going to try and make it as interactive as possible. So if you're on the tables, please continue to pay attention because I may just point at you to come and, to add flavor to today's discussion. But for purposes of the conversation today, my name is Isabella Akiteng, and I will be moderating today's session. And on the panel, we have 4 distinguished people. One of our panelists is joining us online, and that is Mrs. Ruth Mumbi, who is the Executive Director of Women Collective in Kenya. And I will invite her at a certain point to come in and submit. But also present with us are 2 panelists, and they will also introduce themselves. On the way is the 4th panelist, who is coming from another district, which is close to Kampala. And we hope that she can make it in time to this conversation. And as the invitations clearly stated, we are here to commemorate International Safe Abortion Day. And this year's theme is around abortion solidarity. And we have shared a couple of solidarity messages already across the board. Without wasting any time, I am going to invite each of you to look at your tables. So your tables have sticky notes. And I'm going to ask that each of you picks one sticky note in the next 1 minute. And with your sticky note, I would like you to write a question that you would like today's podcast to answer. We might answer your question. It might be one of the prepared questions we already have. But in case it is not, and there is time, we will be able to answer your question. So to be able to do this exercise, you need to stretch your hands out and pick a sticky note because none of you has stretched your hands out. So please stretch out your hands, pick a sticky note, and then get into your handbags and pick a pen. And then you can answer. Sorry, not answer. You can write the question. And Hannah, who is here, Hannah, who was moving the microphone, will come round and pick those questions, and she'll bring them to me here. And if during the course of the podcast you have any question that is arising, you can write it on the sticky note if you're not comfortable enough to put your hand up at the point that questions will be welcome. For purposes of structure, I will lead with conversations, and then we will take a mini break, and in that mini break we shall invite questions from the audience, and once those questions are answered, we will go back and finalize the questions. Today's questions shall come from broad areas that include an area around legal perspectives. We shall also have questions around health and medical perspectives around safe abortion. We will have a conversation around the benefits of legalized abortion. We will have a conversation around solidarity and advocacy, around public engagement, and we will also be having a conversation around what the data says about safe abortion globally. And I hope that this, at the end of the day, can enable us build our knowledge around this year's theme. So, without wasting any time, I am going to invite our panelists, starting from the panelist online, to please introduce yourself and also give us your solidarity message before we get into the questions. Over to you, Miss Ruth Mumbi.
My name is Ruth Mumbi. I'm sending greetings from Kenya. I'm from the Women Collective. It's a grassroots-based movement that works on reproductive justice and more so shifting narratives and creating narratives that are pro-gender. And I'm glad to be here. And my solidarity message today that no one should, or no woman or girl should face stigma, shame, or barrier when making choices about her body. Thank you.
My name is Micheline Mutuzo. I am a law student at Makerere University. I am a feminist, an activist. I think I'm overstretching it, but my solidarity message is: where there is a woman, there is magic and power.
Thank you very much.
I am Othniel Musana. I'm a gynecologist serving with Nsambya Hospital as a consultant. I'm here. I was told to come here by the Commissioner of the Reproductive Health Division of the Ministry of Health.
Okay, and Dr. Othniel, since you have the microphone, we will start with you. And the opening question really is the most basic, and yet not many of us might know its definition, or many of us might have collected definitions from everywhere. What is abortion?
So an abortion is the termination of a pregnancy before what we call viability. Viability means the ability of a fetus to survive outside the mother's body. So in Uganda, viability is defined at 26 weeks, because we've had 26 weeks babies surviving, about 3 in 10, if they are in the better neonatal unit. So abortion is terminating a pregnancy, irrespective of cause. It may self-terminate or it may be an induced abortion.
Okay, so you talk about abortion, and today we celebrate International Safe Abortion Day. What is the difference between a safe abortion and an unsafe abortion?
So when you come to a health provider seeking an abortion service to terminate the pregnancy, usually you should meet the right person. That's the person with the skills to do that abortion. 2, the environment in which they are doing the abortion must be the right one. Healthy environment, clean environment, safe environment. Then 3, the method that they are using must be the latest or most evidence-based method. So you may find somebody is skilled in the right environment, but they're using an outdated method for terminating the pregnancy. So safe abortion has the 3 components. 1 is the skill of the provider, 2 is the method that they are using, and then 3 is the environment under which it's being done.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Othniel. And we're going to bring in Miss Ruth. And Miss Ruth from Kenya, the doctor on the panel talks about safe abortion and talks about the right person, the right environment, the method used being the latest. But given these, given this definition for what a safe abortion is, what is the other problem with safe or unsafe abortions within our context in East Africa? That is, we could use Kenya, we could use Uganda, but also if you have any experience that could enable us answer that question from all the East African country perspectives, please feel free to respond.
Thank you for that question, and I will answer that question from the expertise that I have. As I had mentioned earlier, I'm a community organizer who works at the community level and especially in the informal settlements, and also work with rural women and girls. And for us as a Women Collective, being a grassroots-based organization that has been working so much on reproductive health justice and bodily autonomy, I think one of the biggest challenge as we have in Kenya that also is tied to East Africa in general, I think it's religion, our culture. It's one of the key things that has made us as women not to be able to enjoy our bodily autonomy and also not to be able to enjoy our bodily rights, because religion and culture and societal, views towards abortion has been a key challenge that has also we've seen, and especially in Kenya in the informal settlement, where women and girls who decide to have access to either safe or unsafe abortion are stigmatized, are profiled, are labeled. So stigma becomes one of the key challenge that makes abortion and abortion narrative and politics to be to deny women and to make women fear not to have access to this. And also, I think also in terms of even laws, I think we also have laws in some East African countries, even though our laws are progressive, and especially here in Kenya, where our constitution gives us a right, but under certain circumstances, when the life of the mother is in danger, we still have other laws that do criminalize. Yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's the challenge that we face as women in the East African context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Ruth. Our fourth panelist has joined us. As I mentioned, she was coming from another district, Wakiso. She was crossing into Kampala, but you're very welcome. And Ruth speaks about the challenges, and she highlights religion, culture, bodily autonomy. And coming to Micheline, if you look at the data and the experience that you see around abortion, does Uganda have more safe or more unsafe abortions? And could the reasons for your answer be just what Ruth has highlighted?
Thank you. You can't have more safe ways of abortion if the abortion is not legal. They might be there. You will find one provider here and there, but mostly the methods that people are using now are very unsafe. We've had stories where people use hangers, people self-medicate or Google what tablets to take, or they had, you can take this and this, or you can drink that and that. And that's all because it's not legal to have an abortion here. If it's not legal, you cannot have safe ways to carry out an abortion. Do I think the reasons that Miss Ruth has given are the reasons? I think they are part of the reasons, but the biggest reason at this time, I think, is the legal bit of abortion.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to bring the microphone to the panelist who has just arrived and link back to Dr. Othniel's submission around safe abortions. And in his submission, he mentioned 3 factors that would qualify an abortion as safe. And that was the right person handling it, the right environment, and the right method being used. The second conversations have brought out the issue of legality. And because of legality, then you cannot have safe abortions if the practice is illegal. So coming to legal perspectives, in the belief that you are a lawyer, and in your introduction, you will also qualify if you are qualified to answer that question. What are the key legal barriers to accessing safe abortion services in Uganda, and how can these be addressed? And once you're done, we will have a rejoinder from Dr. Othniel.
Okay, thank you so much, our moderator. I'm called Ajalo Ruth, and I am a lawyer and an advocate of the High Court of Uganda. I work with CEHAD, Center for Health, Human Rights and Development. We are located in Gayaza, Wakiso, so it's true I had to cross into Kampala. Apologies for that delay. I would like to appreciate Women Pro Bono Initiative for the invitation, and I'm happy to be part of the conversation. So indeed, the legal barriers do exist, and I think they are the biggest hindrance or challenge in our journey to access legal and safe abortion in Uganda. And the law as is restrictive. While some people like to say it's illegal, we say it is restrictive because the law, when you look at the Constitution, Article 22.2, it says no one has the right to terminate the life of an unborn child except as may be authorized by law. So meaning there is supposed to be a law that tells you how, where, when, etc., but we don't have that law. So as the Center for Health, Human Rights and Development, we've actually challenged the government for failure to regulate termination of pregnancy, because we believe the government has an opportunity to enact that law under Article 22.2, but has not done that. So this case is currently in the Constitutional Court of Uganda, and we are waiting a hearing and then judgment. We filed this case in 2017, so it's still a journey, and we continue to walk this journey. And because there is that provision that, you know, as may be authorized by law, there is supposed to be a law, but we don't have a law. This gap has sort of been filled by policies that give some exceptions when a woman could access a safe abortion in instances of sexual violence, rape, defilement, fetal abnormalities, aspects that doctor can ably speak to. So yes, while the policies are giving you something, it is not final, it's not the final mark, because in the legal environment, an act of parliament is more powerful than a policy. A policy can be thrown away anytime, but the law is the law. And we have the penal code that, of course, breaks down offenses. It criminalizes a woman who procures an abortion, any person who procures an abortion, but also a supply of drugs. So yes, the legal barriers actually are a very, very big challenge. And how this can be addressed: one, enacting a law to actually tell the public when, where, how, where you should go, who should do it, when they should do it, you know, aspects speaking to all of that, so that when we are talking about legal and safe abortion, there are no more questions. You have all answers, and this should be a law that is, you know, properly defining these aspects. But because achieving this law is a journey, what else are we doing? One, we are capacitating health workers. So you see, when health workers understand the legal and policy environment they're operating in, then they are alive to the criminal sanctions that could come, or they are able to protect themselves from the criminal justice system. And SEHAD is the Secretariat of the Legal Support Network. And this is a team of doctors and medical professionals, I would say, and lawyers who support health workers who come into conflict with the criminal justice system. That is the general mandate of the Legal Support Network. But in there, we are using different approaches, like the preventive approach, where we are training, capacitating health workers, giving them knowledge on how to, safeguard themselves from any criminal sanctions that may come their way. Because we believe when you have knowledge, knowledge is power, you protect yourself. But also, we've gone ahead to actually do compliance assessment visits, and in these visits, we come to your facility to do a legal assessment, because we discover that while these legal enforcement officers, the police officers, when they come to arrest you, if they cannot prove that there's been either an abortion, etc., then they quickly arrest you for not paying an SSF, you don't have a TIN number, etc. Now they catch on the legal things that you have not fulfilled, and they capitalize on that to actually torture you. So through our compliance assessments, we are able to pick out these gaps. So we tell health facilities and health workers, ensure you're clear on the legal compliance, so that there is no soft spot for, the enforcement officers to catch you. Also, we've done a lot of advocacy, engaged key stakeholders. We've also been able to, do some media engagements to highlight the plight of women who are failing to access services. And because they don't know, they don't have information, but also it's restricted, most of them continue to die. And unsafe abortion is also one of the leading causes of maternal mortality in Uganda. So it is indeed something we really need to address. And it is a multi-sectoral approach, and it's a journey that each one of us needs to contribute to. So we all have a role to play in respect to ending the battle of unsafe abortions in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And I hope that that has been eye-opening to the audience. And coming to Dr. Othniel, as a medical practitioner who is, I believe, a very law-abiding citizen, and then listening to Ruth supporting the certain situations that may not necessarily fall within the law, and also looking at the fact that, as you mentioned, you were proposed to come to this meeting by a public office. What is your response to Ruth's submission? But also, while you respond to Ruth's submission, given the nature, given our context as Uganda, and the fact that abortions happen, unsafe abortions happen, abortions are happening outside the acceptable frame that the law provides for, what is your response to those issues, which I will later pull out, but for now, what is your response?
That's a very winding question, but first of all, let me first get one thing out of the way. I am very conservative. So if I was in the US, I would be a Trumper. That is my personal belief. I believe in rights, but not all rights. But I believe in right, doing right by the individual. So there is a correct answer, and then there is the right answer. So when I'm doing my practice, I look for the right answer, not the correct one. You want to terminate a pregnancy? Well, the reason is, the law is there, we do it. That is the correct answer, but it may not be the right answer, because the other things affecting the woman that brought her to you that you may not understand. So the right is a bigger context. So when you're talking about abortions, so number one, because of the lack of a legal regime or policy environment, actually there is no policy at the moment that guides us as practitioners on what to do, but we use our accepted medical indications, reasons for doing abortion. For example, if a woman's, like women who have severe high blood pressure, and they are likely going to get either organ damage that is permanent or they will die. We terminate that pregnancy. We offer a termination of pregnancy. Women who have sickle cell, for example. Sickle cell, once you become pregnant, most of them, within 2 years, they are dead. So sometimes we offer them a termination of pregnancy. So there must be something. Kidney disease, heart disease. Once you become pregnant, likely you will die within the next 2 years. So we tend to say, let us offer a termination. So termination in the medical terms by itself is not unethical. I would say that. Now, back to your question in the legal environment. We don't have a guiding document as to what. The one we had was withdrawn. So it means we are acting in a vacuum. So we have to go behind our good faith and say this is what the medical evidence shows, so we shall terminate this pregnancy. Now, the challenge coming in these days is that the WHO threw a spanner in the works a couple of years ago, maybe two decades ago, and defined health in a particular way as health is, there's physical, there is mental, there is spiritual, there is social. So a client can come and say, I want to commit suicide because I am pregnant. Medically, in terms of the physical body, there is no problem, but mentally, that's going to drive them. So do we terminate the pregnancy? The client may say, my spiritual beliefs, I think I've had a pregnancy, now stigma is real, so I want to terminate and things like that. So generally when we will come to us, okay, when you come to me, I try and look for the right answer, not the correct one. So not rights, I don't look at rights, I look at the right answer, the right one for this woman, because everybody is unique in their own ways. So usually when clients approach to terminate a pregnancy, I will tell them I don't do it, but I can give you information about the potential complications of each method that you want to, that you've heard of. What have you heard of? I'll use a hanger, I'll use tablets, I'll use this. If you do it this way, this is the chances of getting ABCD. So you give the client information, and if they still persist that they actually want to terminate the pregnancy, then you refer them to where they can do it. That said, much as I am conservative, very conservative, I think, sometimes radically conservative, my guiding principle is that, number one, if the woman is going to terminate the pregnancy, she will most likely find a solution. She will most likely find a solution. Two, as a person, I'm not a judge. That's not my role as a practitioner, though I may inherently have some judgmental issues, but I'm not a judge. So the issue is deal with her problem the right way, refer her to where she can get the services or the information she needs so that she can be safe. Because even me let me say I'm a Christian. Does it help me if the woman dies and I bury? Or will it be of use to me if she is safe and she comes back and I rehabilitate her and I cast out my demons? Something like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Othniel, for your answer. It has an answer within the answer, and we are grateful for the answer. And we're going to come to Micheline, and from your answer, we are going to come back to Dr. Othniel. And I would like to ask you to share, in your opinion, what you believe are the immediate and long-term health risks that may be associated with unsafe abortions, particularly for women in countries with restrictive abortion laws. And this could be restrictive, unclear, vague, vacuum, situations like ours. Over to you.
I think the immediate one would be death. You overbleed, you get infections. I think that diseases that trigger from having an unsafe abortion, I think that on the face of it, that is where I would start. The other that I would think about is may you do it badly and maybe not in the immediate not immediately after do you realize that maybe you can't ever have kids again. You might not want kids then when you carry out the unsafe abortion, but you might want kids 1 year later or 2 years later, and then you use, say, a hanger or whatever, and you damage something in your body, and 2 years later you can't have, kids. And you want to have an abortion, he will talk to you about it. There's comfort in knowing that there's a discussion that you had before you decided to carry out this decision. But knowing that it is illegal, and now you're going to carry out an unsafe abortion, one, you're hiding it because you don't want people to find out about it with a stigma it comes with. You don't want to discuss with anyone, so you're doing it in probably the confinement of your home. You're hiding somewhere in a room. So I think it also comes with a mental toll to it. I think that would be what I would think of head, the things that would come with having an unsafe abortion.
Okay, thank you very much. The reason I ask that it comes back to the doctor is because as non-doctors, there are things we assume or there are things we feel, but then there are also realities around the impact from someone who actually interfaces with this from a medical standpoint. So over to you.
So let me just get back a little bit. Unsafe abortion causes medical complications. The medical complications cause social complications. So, unsafe abortion, I've had the infection, now I cannot conceive because I'm infertile now. That's a social issue, not a medical issue. But pregnancy is not a medical issue. Pregnancy and sex are social issues, but they have medical complications. So the decision to have sex is not medical. We don't prescribe how to have sex 3 times a day. No. That is a social issue in the social arena, but it will cause medical complications. One of them is you have sex, you get pregnant. Do you want the pregnancy or do you don't want the pregnancy? If you don't want pregnancy, then you'll come to the sector and likely get an unsafe abortion. So unsafe abortions not only impact the woman, but also impact the community. Not just the woman. Of course, she has stigma, but what about the family? What about the spouse? What about her future reproductive desires? What about, in case, for example, the costs to the woman? If you have infection, we admit you longer. We do lots of procedures. I've seen a 16-year-old girl where we had to remove her uterus because she had an unsafe abortion. She came to the hospital, one of the big hospitals. She was sent away. Then she came back with the complication because the law allows us to do what we call post-abortion care. Post-abortion care means regardless of how the abortion started, for us we shall treat you if you come after it has happened. So she comes back and of course uterus out and things like that. So unsafe abortion is costly even to the government, not just to the individual, to the government. Unsafe abortion is a problem to the community itself, because if the girls are terminating pregnancies unsafely, then the cost of caring for them, remember when a girl is in the hospital, the mother is there, the sisters are around, those are all economic costs lost. Then of course the long-term impacts cannot to the individual themselves, because one of the things that the unsafe abortion does, one of the questions I normally ask you is that I terminated the pregnancy unsafely, hopefully, then they come to you and say, but doctor, now I have a new man, can I conceive, can I? So any delays, they will think it was the problem that had to do with the termination. So I think the mental issues are real. And of course, now let me speak now as a doctor. Not every termination of pregnancy, even by the specialist, is safe. Number one is in our training curricula, because of the fear of medical practitioners, so healthcare workers, choosing to terminate pregnancies outside the vague legal environment. The curriculum don't speak much about the methods for terminating pregnancy. So you may find even a specialist may come out with vague knowledge. So of course, when you meet them, you think I'm seeing Dr. Musana, the specialist, but it's not a safe one. Number two, one of the issues we had as a fraternity, as a gynecologist, was okay, people don't want to train in the curriculum. The issue was that if you give Musana, I know Musana is my student, and for him, he's liberal or he's free with it. So I avoid giving him knowledge. But I forget that even that same practitioner will meet a woman who has had what we call a miscarriage, spontaneous, who requires the same service, because we use the same methods for terminating a pregnancy for medical reasons and the same methods for terminating a pregnancy for other reasons. So now you find even the ones where we are supposed to terminate, we are using the wrong methods. So generally the issue of being unsafe also spills into our practice because we are not trained well.
The next question also is heavily medical, but I'm going to first go to Ruth, who is in Kenya, and then come back to Dr. Othniel. And you close at a point where the lack of knowledge is not just detrimental to a woman who is seeking an abortion, but even to one who would under medical conditions qualify for abortion. And in that instance, then we go back to one of the effects that Micheline talked about, which was death. And so we come back to the conversation around mortality. And so going to Ruth, are there insights from Kenya, because you're based in Kenya, where the health sector is within the abortion context that you have, working to reduce mortalities that might be caused by unsafe abortions, both in action, that is in carrying out the abortion, but also two, in unforeseen consequences like the lack of information and knowledge from a practitioner because there was limited training. Over to you, Ruth, and then we will come back to Dr. Othniel.
My answer to that, I'll give a historical background where in 2015 there were standard and guidelines that were withdrawn by the Ministry of Health here in Kenya, and the standard and guidelines were guidelines that were, guiding medical practitioners on how to deal with a girl or a woman who wanted access to post-abortion care. And due to the withdrawal of the guidelines, we found that at that particular moment, we lost a lot of many lives of girls and women. And there was this specific case that that we took a petition to the High Court, where I was that petitioner. From the context of where I was coming from, the context of the community, where I have been dealing with cases and being a respondent of cases of unsafe abortion, where girls and women come to seek advice and to seek services, where we've been linking many girls and women to service providers who can offer an alternative. So I became a petitioner. This was a case that was taken to court by the Center for Reproductive Health Rights. And as I had said, the situation where we found that when service providers and also the doctors are not given power to help or to intervene when we have a situation as such, there are a lot of unscrupulous and the backstreet abortion givers take advantage of that. So for me, from the rich record that I have defending and also standing in solidarity with survivors and victims of unsafe abortion, I can say that this is a situation where we need a concerted effort from both the medical practitioners and also the community, and as well as the civil society, because it's a war that cannot be won by one particular group. Because in such a situation, the medical practitioners didn't have power to go to court to defend themselves so that the standard and guidelines to be brought back, but it was the concerted effort of the civil society and the community, I representing the community, the power of the people in court, to demand that the standard and guidelines must be brought back, and it was brought back, and the lives, at least, it was one of the progressive and remains one of the progressive rulings that we have in Africa, where in the gray area, the JMM case at least now provided perfect scenario and situation under which a woman or a girl can have access to safe and legal abortion. And I'm glad that the doctor who was speaking also quoted the World Health Organization and the standard that they have provided, which also guided the magistrates here in Kenya and adopted other protocols that Kenya is party to, like the Maputo Protocol, and also the guidelines by World Health Organization when it states the life of a mother can be in danger when she's not psychologically stable, she's not economically stable, she's not even physically stable, maybe to bring a pregnancy to term. And those four situations provided a leeway for doctors to give services to a woman who is seeking access to safe and legal abortion. And in our work, we've been using the ruling and sensitizing community through the ruling that was happened. Because as much as the court gave that ruling, the work has to continue and to be done, where people must be, we must have continuous engagement with the communities to understand the rulings and the policies that are coming from the court. So the JMM case has been a very powerful case scenario where it has given us power as human rights defenders and community organizers, at least to show communities that abortion in Kenya is not illegal as many think, but it is only restricted, but can be accessed by a woman in those conditions that the High Court of Kenya provided. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that feedback. Generally, as practitioners, one of the things we face is that we normally operate based on guidelines. Now, if the guideline is not there, then you are literally doing something illegal or something that can be taken to either the Council for Professional Discipline or to the courts. Now, one of the things that before we used to call the induced abortions, criminal abortions. That was the language we were taught. It's a criminal abortion. So, of course, the woman was a criminal. Then later we shifted the language to induced abortion. Now, as I told you, induced abortions are for different reasons. We also induce abortions for what we say are medical reasons. But also the ones for non-medical reasons are also induced using the same methods. So we stopped using the word criminal abortion so that the health workers would stop stigmatizing women and denying them services. Now, one of the challenges, I think, is that medical complications are easier to count. When talking about abortion, people will look at the doctors and the nurses because it's easy to count the medical complications. You come, you're bleeding, we treat you, we report to the Ministry of Health, and it's very difficult to count the social and psychological complications. So I think that if you're counting that 5%, for example, the last performance report by the ministry of the mothers who died, 5% of them were due to abortion. That I believe is an underestimation, because most health workers will not report that this was an abortion. So the woman will come in with infection, sepsis, and they'll say, just sepsis. But underlying there may have been an abortion. 2, out of every 100 women who die on record, nowadays we know every woman who dies in the country. We can follow them and trace them. Out of every 100 women who die, 25 of them are dying, 25% or 25 of them are below the age of 24. Of those women, almost 9 out of 10, those below 24, are dying because of abortions and its complications. So as a health sector and as practitioners, I think there are issues around to, 1, report well so that we know the actual burden of the problem. I think we are underreporting. 2 has been the move to try and decriminalize, and that starts from the health worker. During my tenure as president of the Association of Gynecologists, I think we worked with SEHAD and other partners to try and, I'm talking like this because I've worked with partners like that, but I still remain staunchly conservative. But I'm able to understand the issues around why the woman is seeking a service or seeking for that reason. So it has not in any way affected my values. So we came out with a statement to guide our obstetricians and gynecologists about how to deal with the law and also how to deal with the woman when they come. And one of the things we promoted was something called harm reduction. Harm reduction, of course, we interacted with the religious people, the justice, the justice sector, we interacted with the police, and many of them did not understand abortion. So at the end of it, we promoting the harm reduction. Of course, if you talk to the religious people, one of the things I think many people who speak about rights may speak about right. Who speak about rights are like, abstinence doesn't work, like, no. Because we have data that abstinence works, not to prevent pregnancy. It works to prevent the woman from having sex at that time. But at some point, she'll have sex. At some point, she will break the abstinence and have sex. So one of the things we agreed with the religious people was, okay, continue preaching abstinence. But during the time the girl is abstaining, put in information to make her make safe choices when she starts having the sex. So abstinence will not prevent pregnancy. You just delay the episode of sex. So in that time, feed in information to make sure the girl remains safe or makes safe choices, including things like emergency contraception. It should be on the, I think, over the counter, because anyway, sex is happening. 2, things like contraception to teenagers. We have a big teenage problem. We're not going to win that war in the next 20 years, I believe, because culture is not going to change anytime soon. The teenagers, when they come to us, not giving them contraception. So it means, as a practitioner, I'll talk about myself. As a practitioner, you see the girl, sort her problem, whether you have denied the service or you have given her the service. What you cannot change is the social circumstances she's coming from. Because you send her back to the same people, the same problem, she will come back again. So one of the advice we normally give to our colleagues is that when the girl comes to you, don't be judgmental. First, make sure you prevent the next pregnancy. You can shout at her, but make sure you prevent the next pregnancy. So she doesn't come back, because she's going back to people who are going to still use her. Then, if possible, link her to the rehab that she may need, other than just sending her, hey, service, go back. Service, she'll come back. Next time she'll come back dead. So I think in my position as an advocate, despite my beliefs, I think that I'll always try to advocate that, well, first stop the next problem. The car has no lights. Please get the lights. Then sort out the driver. So the girl is coming, she's having sex, she's going to have sex anyway. So give her a contraceptive. They are available in the facilities and free of charge as you try to rehabilitate her.
Thank you very much. And at this point, I'm going to come to the audience. You didn't send your questions. but we're going to take a break from the panel and take on any 5 questions to any of the panelists on the conversation we've been having. Anyone? Okay, so we have question number 1. Question number 2.
To this conversation.
Recording in progress.
Secondly is, I feel like another thing is, can we address these people who are taking our girls through these dangerous, I'm trying to bring out the right way for it. These girls who are, these people who are practicing these harmful forms and ways of abortion on our girls. In university, I nearly lost a friend who went to a herbalist for abortion services. Can we find out these people? Can we identify them? And maybe start from there. If it is sensitizing them on, more less harmful ways. But then secondly, maybe these are the people we really need to decriminalize actually when it comes to the conversation around abortion. And then finally, I'm going to mention what a friend of mine recently said. She said, when we are having this conversation around abortion, reaching out to the spiritual leaders and the cultural leaders, like I mentioned earlier, can we sensitize them enough to the level of having conversations around abortion be mentioned in churches? Because we are getting to understand that abortion is not actually a bad thing. So how about if our spiritual leaders, if our political leaders, if our cultural leaders and local leaders are forefronting the conversation? And how are they forefronting the conversation? Helping them understand it to the level of even a reverend or a pastor or a priest can actually help out when it comes to sensitizing or helping out an adolescent girl and young woman who is struggling with probably an unsafe pregnancy. And then finally is within us ourselves, within us the advocates and the different CSOs, I feel like even us, we've not yet understood abortion. It's the very few, the SEHADs, women pro bono, and maybe 1 or 2 who really understand this. We've not taken, we the educated ones, SEHAD, you are the most educated in the conversation around abortion. How much have you done to sensitize other organizations around this conversation? Because this can only be done by a collective effort. How much does Uganet know about abortion? How much does, say, Uganda Network of Young People Living with HIV know about abortion? Can we sensitize our friends around the CSO umbrella in this conversation such that we're not doing the work alone, but we have people helping us out in that fight? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And then we had the second hand right here. And then we have a third hand. Hand 2 is here. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon all. My name is Chandra Esther. And the question I have goes to the Dr. Musana. Through the conversations, you said that you, the health workers, you don't have any guideline in place that helps you maybe or gives you guidance if a woman wants a safe abortion. So my question is this: are you also making efforts to see that maybe the government pulls guidelines in place? Because the unsafe abortions are happening, we are not going to run away from them. They are there every day. Even by now, as I'm speaking, there is one that is happening. But are there guidelines so that if maybe I, Esther, wake up one morning and say, let me go to clinic X, will they help me minus them fearing that I don't have any guideline that guides me in helping in such a situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther. Then we have hand 3. And if there's no hand 4, we will. Okay, there's hand 4. Is there a hand 5? Okay.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Joyce Namugambi. I'm a journalist. To Dr. Musana, I've heard you saying you offer post-abortion services. We appreciate the fact that abortion is done. That's why that service is offered. To add on Esther's question, is there any plan to help these girls and women who die out there? They fall in hands of people who are unprofessional because they can't go to health centers openly. So is there any plan to help these women? Because we are losing people doing such acts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have question number 4 right there.
Good afternoon. My question also goes to Dr. Musana. You mentioned how unsafe abortions are costing government. And for me, I'm majorly interested in, and whoever else can answer this, the economic implications that unsafe abortions have on society and just generally on the economy.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, question number 5. And then we'll do another round after.
Thank you so much. My name is Jasper Twesige, law student at Cavendish. My question goes to the lawyer. How do we try to compare Ugandan laws with the international human rights standards in regards to safe abortion and post-abortion care? You can please help us understand that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will start with question number 1. And for question number 1, because it's an issue around addressing culture, I'm going to invite Ruth from Kenya and Ruth from Uganda to answer that question. Over to you, Ruth. Ruth Mumbi.
I'm having internet connection problem, so I didn't get the question. Maybe Ruth from Uganda can go ahead of me, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, as
But
Ruth
the
from
network-
Uganda
Yes.
comes in, I'll just repeat the question. Reference was made to a member of parliament's submission last week around culture and how a lot of these conversations are hinged in culture. And so the person that asked the question was inquiring on how we are involving cultural leaders. And we could also add civil society, because there was an element around the extent to which we are passing information on to civil society organizations so that there is collective effort around addressing the abortion question. But let Ruth start while you collect your thoughts, and then we'll come to you.
Okay, thank you so much. The question of culture, it is big and it is important. I will start at the MP's submission. I don't think MPs can take themselves out of this conversation because they are the lawmakers. So even if you engaged everyone and finally a law came before them, they will be the first to run back to morality, to their religion, to their culture, to their voters. How will they see me? So they can't pluck themselves out of this conversation. To address the issues of unsafe abortion, it's multi-sectoral. Everyone is involved. So they cannot say, don't talk to us. Maybe they should say, who else have you engaged before you come to us? But they have a critical role to play. So culture, indeed, culture still remains a barrier, and cultural leaders are still a barrier on this journey. So what have we done, or what can we continue to do? It is to train and sensitize cultural leaders. I know that effort has been made, as Sehad, I know that we've engaged cultural leaders. We have worked with the Association of Gynecologists and Obstetricians, AUGO. They have organized some engagements with cultural leaders where they have invited us to be part of, but also we've had intergenerational dialogues that bring together cultural leaders among other stakeholders. And in here, what are we talking about? The basics. So you see, in bringing a topic like abortion and safe abortion, you have to, you can't just throw it to the audience. It is a journey. So it is walking a journey where you introduce statistics of teenage pregnancies, of women who are dying due to unsafe abortion, to build a case on why we are even having the conversation. So it's a step-by-step process, and you will agree with me, even if you were a cultural leader and had it for the first time, you're going to dismiss it. But if you continually engage and listen, maybe you start to change. So it is something that we all have a role to play, and maybe we need more people doing this, engaging cultural leaders, because there are so many. So even if you say, look, I'm going to have a meeting of those in Central, you're not going to collect all of them. You're going to do a sample and hope that these people can go and change others. And this brings me to the identification of champions. Who among the cultural leaders have you noticed is a champion, has started to understand these things? If you have this person with you and they are the ones talking to their colleagues, they get to listen more. You from Kampala who's coming down to maybe Eastern to talk to them, they might not listen to you so much. But if it's one of them in the community who is holding this conversation alongside you, they start to listen. So we need to identify champions, capacitate them, but also continually engage, sensitize, provide information. And this information should be as basic as the statistics on teenage pregnancy, statistics on young girls who are dying due to unsafe abortion, the barriers in the law, simple things that they start to understand, because we like to believe that everyone is holy, all our kids are holy, everyone, So who are the people? Who are those teenage pregnancies? Who are those girls dying? Whose children are they? Which communities do they belong to? They belong to our communities. So it is as simple as taking the conversation back to the village, to their community, to their parish, to their church, to, have people, telling the story. And of course, stories are powerful, but abortion is highly stigmatized. So you may not have a champion coming out to say, I experienced this, I was helped like this. But, having champions who have understood and can ably have the conversation. There was also, I think, something about how do we address people who are perpetrating unsafe abortions, specifically herbalists. Well, this one is an interesting one, because most likely they're doing it in a clandestine manner. They are not doing it openly. But I think the most powerful tool here is information. If people have information, then they will know where to go and what to do. A person who ends up at a herbalist surely doesn't have information. But doctor says under the harm reduction model, when we are training health workers, there are 3 stages. A person comes to you saying, I want this service. You don't agree with it, but provide information. You cancel them, so they can make an informed decision. And the next stage would be to provide a service which is illegal, that is the red part. But in the event that they go and have an unsafe abortion, you are ready to provide post-abortion care, counseling for the next stage as a package under post-abortion care. That you've provided emergency care, you've rescued them, but what next? Can you go on to contraception? Can you, you have a further conversation. So information is powerful. Providing it to these individuals will save them from the herbalists, from, the dingy places they go to. And I think there was a question, I think, on limited information. What has SEHAD done to, sensitize others, to bring them on board? One has been litigation efforts to, address the issue, but also there have been several engagements we've done, and we can attest to the fact that many of the organizations coming up to even do this work have either learned from SEHAD, have been through SEHAD, or have severally engaged with SEHAD to start to understand and to also carry this work forward. So it's a journey, and we continue to walk the journey. I know we've done research. We have documented so much information, because we discovered that probably people are not clear on what is the conversation. Why are we even having this conversation? the conversation centers on regulation, because what we don't have is a regulation on what to do if this came up. So everyone is doing their own thing. The one going to the herbalist, the one going to a doctor, the one who is engaging the cultural leader. So, but what are we looking for? We are looking for regulation. Regulation to save women from dying from unsafe abortion. So it's to continually provide information. And I know that in most of our engagements, we usually invite CSOs. So maybe the whole organization can't come, but usually most of them who have engaged know that we call 1 or 2 people per organization, and they are introduced into this journey. They are vicatted and continually engaged in respect to the conversation. So it's something we continue to do. Our website has a lot of information that could support those who need to understand even just the basics, and also to even see the work that has been done, but where can they also engage in the conversation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. You seem to have taken all your questions. There's a last one. You just want to finish, and then we proceed.
Okay, thank you. So I had the last question on comparing international law with Ugandan laws. So international law is actually very, very progressive in respect to health. You see, abortion is health care. Access to abortion is actually health care. And like Dr. says, WHO has defined what health is. We have international instruments, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Health rights are basically within the economic, social, and cultural rights, that package, which are usually called the second-class rights. The civil and political rights are like the first-class rights. So, for example, if an MP somewhere died, they are going to hold a by-election almost in no time. The money is going to be available. Everything will be there. But even if 10 women died every week at a health facility, they will tell you there is no money to rectify those problems. So the thing about economic, social, and cultural rights is that they are progressively realized. So it's like it's a journey. Today we give you 10 million. Next year we add you 30 million in the budget, because it's progressive. We are not in a hurry, you know. It's not a priority. And yet what you're not prioritizing is actually killing people. So I just needed to mention that. Now, international law is very progressive, you know, providing for access to health care in its completeness. And its completeness, that includes abortion health care. That is at even an international standard. When we come to the regional frameworks, the Maputo Protocol, it provides that states need to provide health care in its entirety, and particularly women accessing abortion health care. But what did Uganda do? You know, international and regional frameworks, some of them have been ratified in Uganda. Those, especially health and even other respects, have been ratified. To ratify means Uganda agrees and will comply. But for the Maputo Protocol, they placed a reservation on the article on abortion to say that while we accept everything, we shall not accept the one that says women should access abortion health care. So, you know, they cut themselves off that one to say, you know, for us, we are too spiritual. We cannot recognize abortion as health care within Uganda. So now we come back now to domesticate. But the argument still remains that even as you domesticate, because when you ratify, you have to bring it home so that it is actualized. So if you're accepting that healthcare in its completeness should be a right for Ugandans, why don't you allow Ugandans access healthcare in its completeness? Why is it in packages and, you know, small bits and, you know, all of that? So international, regional are very progressive. But as a country, much as we have said yes, we have also said no to a particular aspect. And therefore, as a country, we continue to grapple with the challenges that come from the restrictive legal environment. But otherwise, internationally, the guidelines, you know, the frameworks in place are saying women should be able to access health care in its completeness, including abortion health care. So that's it. I hope I've helped you understand the comparison between international and Ugandan laws. And in case you still need any clarity, I can provide it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ruth, Kenya, would you like to come in now?
Yes, thank you. And I hope that I'm clear. It's raining heavily here in Nairobi.
Oh, yes,
And
you are.
My answer to Okay, thank you. What we have been doing as a women collective, we have been, I said that we have been doing conversation and also training on progender and conversation to decriminalize abortion at the community level. And I agree. There was also a need to engage cultural leaders. A couple of weeks ago, we are organizing a tournament, Keep Abortion Stigma Away. And this is a tournament that will be creating awareness. But before the tournament, we brought diverse group of people just to train them and also to make them understand that the politics around abortion. And one of the unique group of people that we brought was elders from the cultural elders. There was this elder from the Kikuyu community here in Kenya, which is the largest community in Kenya. And there was a heated debate on when does life begin. And there were people who were still stuck on the idea that life begins at conception. And this elderly man who was 8 years gave a context on the Kikuyu cultural beliefs. When his analogy was that in the Kikuyu community, they never counted pregnancy as pregnancy until it was brought to term. And when the baby was born, was the time that the Kikuyu people would celebrate. If it was a girl, there was ovulation, which were 4 ovulation for a baby girl and 5 for a baby boy. So the conclusion was the Kikuyu community believed that a life began when the pregnancy was brought into term, and so they understood there were other contexts that would make a woman not able to carry the baby into term. This has made us, as Women Collective, to rethink of how we are doing our programming and also non-traditional constituencies that we have not been engaging now, like the cultural elders. We want to broaden the base to other communities just to understand and hear their views on when and how they until their views on politics of when life does start. So we think it's an important constituency to engage, to hold a lot of power, but it can shift the narrative.
Thank you very much, Ruth, especially for highlighting the Kikuyu story for all of us, and I hope that we all were able to listen to it. But moving on to the next question, which was around harmful abortions, I'd like to invite Micheline to submit on that. Okay, so the question was around how can we address the issue of people who are practicing harmful abortions for girls. But as you respond to that, I think there's a key conversation that we might have alluded to, but did not necessarily handle, and that was around the reasons as to why harmful abortions are even a conversation that we are having on the table. And of course, there is the issue of culture, there's the issue of religion, but it would be good to also hear from you why we're even having a conversation around unsafe abortions, and also how we are handling the aspect of harmful abortions that continue to be carried out.
Thank you. First of all, I think it's very hard to handle people that are carrying out unsafe abortions when the people carrying out unsafe abortions are doing it underground and basically hidden. And there is a lot of stigma about abortion itself, that even if someone went ahead and performed an unsafe abortion, and say it didn't go well, they will not come out to say that, hey, I had an unsafe abortion and this is what I am going through and this is where I did it. I have a friend who passed on years back who carried out an unsafe abortion, and to her deathbed, she could not say where she went. So until we make the conversation about abortion a very comfortable one, it is going to be very, very difficult to hold these people accountable until, say, until abortion is legalized, where people know it is okay to have one. If you want to have one, you have a choice to have that abortion, and you can go somewhere and a doctor is not going to tell you, oh, me, I cannot carry out an abortion because I am scared for my license, or I could get arrested for it. Until that happens, it is going to be very, very difficult to hold these people accountable. So how do we address that? I think first we are going to begin with creating a safe environment for people to talk about abortion, make it okay to have that discussion. Secondly, I believe it's about time that we start discussing how to legalize abortion. People need to understand that once abortion is legal, it does not mean that now every girl that gets pregnant, every woman that gets pregnant is going to run to an abortion clinic. It only means that people have a choice to have that abortion in a safer environment, with safer ways. The doctor said how they even have, I think the curriculum is a little bit limited to abortion and all that. Once it is legal, I think even the curriculums will change to that to accommodate abortions. That means these traditional healers, people using hangers, people swallowing tablets, they will all go down because now they have a place that they can run to that will actually help them. I think that is the best way that we can address that people that are carrying out unsafe abortions.
Okay, thank you very much. The doctor had 3 questions, and while he responds to them, Micheline raises the issue of data and perceptions, the assumption that if we legalize the abortion environment, then there's going to be an abortion party in the country. Everyone will be running to have an abortion. And so while the doctor submits, I'd like Ruth to get ready to respond to the question around what does the data say about countries that have actually legalized this, and are their abortions safer? Are they unsafe? What does their data look like? Over to you, Doctor.
We had a couple of questions, but of course, as I said, sex is a social issue. But you only count the problems in the medical, the easier ones are in the medical arena. So one of the things that people are asking, are abortions actually on the increase, or have they actually reduced? We don't know. We don't know. The only proxy that we can use is the rate of teenage pregnancies, which dropped from 44%. 44% of teenagers were pregnant in 1991. Now it dropped to 25 since around 2001, and it has never reduced. 2, many of the girls prior to, let me just call it colonialism, were likely married at the first period. You make a period, they marry you. So there was no reason to terminate a pregnancy. That's my perception, my theory. So we would not hear about abortion. Or if it was there, maybe the women had a way of handling it socially so that the girl is not scorned. So the issue became much more after, I think, independence and other things. So you need to think about the theories there. So has there been a change in the social structure that may increase the need for that service and the rates of abortion? And of course, somebody asked me, do we have guidelines? The Ministry of Health has put its foot down, and we are offering post-abortion care. It means the abortion has to have happened. Then we manage its complications. And in the latest guidelines, the essential maternal and newborn care clinical guidelines of 2022, there is a huge section on managing you after you have had the abortion, including the methods we use. As I told you, the methods we use for managing you after it has happened are similar to the ones we use for other social reasons. So there is a huge chapter, about 4 chapters in those guidelines that actually show that the ministry, because they actually updated, so much as my colleague on SEHAD may not see, but some of their efforts may have paid off in influencing something that actually give us clear guidelines on how to manage post-abortion care. Now, what are the plans to help girls access safe abortion care? I don't think that's my opinion, because I've been in the sector for almost 20 years now. I don't think you have to target the medical people. But as I say, it is a social issue. Because even if you target us, it's good to target us and inform us, and the issue remains social. Even the doctors, the nurses come from the same social strata as the girls, the same social strata as the religious leaders, as the so it struck me that even the judiciary was. I'm like, the problem is much bigger than I thought. That was a problem of the doctors. So helping out the girls for us, I think, is giving the girls a chance to live when they come to us, and then 2, preventing the next pregnancy. And that's the message we are sticking on as medical people, that once the girl comes to you, or once the woman comes to you, 1, make sure she does not die. How? Up to you. 2, make sure she doesn't go home with complications that will affect her future reproductive life. And make sure she's not admitted for several days. Then make sure she does not come back for another one. Doesn't come back for another one. And for us, the only method we know is we have long-acting contraceptives, we have the IUDs, we have Then, of course, economic impact, because we don't normally speak about it even in this medical sector. It is very hard to come and start talking about abortion. When we talk about abortion in our key meetings, hospitals, policy groups, they're like, that thing, nobody is comfortable talking about it. So, of course, a lot of information that would guide us to say what is the economic impact to the government. So already post-abortion is a problem. Post-abortion care, it means something happened. Now somebody is paying taxpayer money to handle it. So I think it's anywhere, my estimates are anywhere between maybe about 14 million to about 30-something million, based on the procurement of supplies for abortion care services.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theniel. Before we come to Ruth, we have an online audience, and there's someone who has a question. So please go right ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. This is Josephine Lavoy from Planned Parenthood. I don't really have a question. I just I have a contribution to make, and I joined in a little bit late. So, can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Hello, can you?
Yes, please.
I'm saying I'm Josephine Lavoy from Planned Parenthood Global, joining in here from Kampala, Uganda, and I just wanted to make a contribution. And thank you very much for very interesting conversations, and also looking at different ways in which we can break different barriers that actually reduce access to safe abortion. And but I also just wanted to add my voice to saying that maybe we need to broaden the conversation on safe abortion by engaging non-traditional actors like us, because I know, I think a colleague from SEHAD talked about having champions that can push for safe abortion, especially among the religious leaders, and we acknowledge that. But we also, it's crucial that to recognize that the conversation cannot remain within our confines or the traditional actors like us who do SRHR and healthcare providers and advocates. So maybe in this, as we commemorate International Safe Abortion Day, is there a way we can create more inclusive and robust movements that broadens conversations to include voices from other sectors, so that they're able to carry with us this? Because I was just sitting here and saying, okay, of course, the impact of abortion is very, very heavy on either at family, at individual level, at to government. It's really, really heavy at different levels. And as we commemorate, I was just wondering that how much probably did we involve the creative arts to really speak about the magnitude of the problem and be able to bring the power of their voice to shape the perceptions and break down the stigma and use the stories. So I'm just adding my voice to saying that we need to broaden the people that we speak to and broaden the landscape, broaden the conversation, so that we engage more traditional actors more intentionally, so that they enrich this conversation. I'm just making a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josephine, for preempting one of our last questions around building solidarity and more inclusive movements. And so even as we welcome Ruth from SEHAD to submit, I would like to already invite Micheline and Ruth from Kenya to begin to think about what role solidarity movements can play in reducing stigma and advancing access to safe abortion services. And hopefully by so doing, we can be able to build more inclusive movements.
Thank you so much. I think my question was on a comparison in respect to data from countries that have a progressive legal environment vis-a-vis Uganda. I know that research has been done, and indeed evidence shows. I will give an example of Rwanda has a progressive legal and policy environment around SRHR, abortion access, and indeed statistics show that their maternal mortality ratio has greatly gone down. So yeah, it's not true that there will be an abortion party in case it's legalized, because one thing is that it's not like you're going to just access it by the road, but there are going to be clear guidelines, on where to go, who to go to, etc. And I know that part of the package comes with counseling to understand what is the issue, what are the options available. And indeed, in our engagements with health workers, they indicate that for so many people, after receiving counseling, they're in a much better place to actually carry through their pregnancies, while some are really determined. So even if you cancel, they are listening, but no, now I'm going to go and take this, to remove this thing, And while I wasn't exactly ready for this question to give you the comparison in statistics, I know that for Kigali, the maternal mortality ratio has greatly gone down, and the biggest contribution to this is the progressive legal and policy environment. While it might have its restrictions on, maybe health workers could probably refuse to give you, an abortion because of their beliefs, it means you can still go to another person who would, provide the service to you. It is that flexibility to say, if I cannot get it here, I can go there. And before I even get it, I'm given enough information to, be able to make a decision. So even in our, we like saying it's illegal. It's being illegal or restrictive has not cured the fact that many people continue to die. So that's the reason for the conversation, that the law is there. It has criminalized. Health workers are being arrested. People are dying. But the law is there. So what is not working? It means there's actually a problem. And that's why we are here having a conversation today, to actually address that gap that even with all the laws, with all the restrictions, with all the threats, with all the prayers, the national breakfast prayers, people still die from unsafe abortions. So the law is not enough. There is more to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. We'll continue to have breakfast prayers, and hopefully they will help us have the law that shall address this. So over to Micheline, and then we will have Ruth from Kenya. And if you have a question, I'll come in for the last round of questions, and that last round of questions shall bring us back to the panel, and we will respond and also make our closing remarks. Over to you.
What role does solidarity play? First of all, I think it gives us a safe space. I want to believe. I think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people could never sit down like this and have a conversation about abortion. That means that the solidarity is working. We are taking steps. They may be very small, little steps, but they are still steps anyway. I think someone said something about how we have a voice and we just need to be heard. I think we are at a point where people are starting to listen. People are starting to give it attention. It might not be a lot of attention. I keep saying this. It might not be a lot. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we did not have any listening ear. But now people are starting to listen. People might still be conservative, but they are agreeing to sit with us on the table and have a conversation. So I think the other thing that I would talk about is that the stigma is going down. It's still there, but it's going down. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I struggled so much when I found out I was pregnant. I was very young. I was in first year at campus the first time. I was not ready to have that child. I struggled so much to make a decision on whether I should, have an abortion or not. But at the time, there was barely anyone I could look at and be like, what do you think I should do? Like, what would you advise? I just struggled with the decision internally until I came to a point where I made the decision and said, okay, I think I want to keep this child. But now we are talking about abortion openly. I think I talk about it a lot, even on my social media. It's okay. It's okay to feel conflicted. It's okay to make a choice not to keep that child. And from the responses that we get, we see people understanding. Yeah, there's rude comments that will come in, but you will see that a greater number, even when they are not female or women, for them to understand the conflict that will be happening within you, they are also starting to understand where we are coming from. So I think the solidarity is playing a big role. We are moving forward. I can only believe that it only gets better from here.
Thank you very much, Micheline. And what I'm going to say, I hope does not come out very, very unbiased or rude. And if it does, then I apologize. But very rarely do we have ambassadors who will come out and share their experiences when it comes to the conversation around abortion. And so on this day, on this International Safe Abortion Day, I would like to celebrate you. You did not have an abortion, but you're using your experience to have a conversation around it. So thank you very much. Over to you, Ruth in Kenya. I hope that the rain has allowed you to hear the question. Ruth?
Is it the role of solidarity, how solidarity movements can help
Yes.
in terms of fighting and fighting the stigma that's associated with abortion?
Yes,
And
please.
I think they do have a very big role. And first and foremost, I think it's important as the solidarity movement allies, we continue doing advocacy and creating awareness at the community level, individual communities that we come from. And because this is really an important aspect, when you educate communities, when you give them information, it helps in terms of shifting public perception that can reduce abortion as stigma. The next, something also we are doing at the Women Collective that I think is part of solidarity creation and solidarity strengthening is building community
support where we have created networks of community organizers, champions that are working on SRHR, but also we have created networks for survivors and victims of unsafe abortion, just to give them for them to own their stories and use their stories not from the point of weakness or judgment, but to shift that narrative and to reclaim their stories to be stories of power. And also in terms of policy, I think solidarity movement is really important that we continue to influence policy makers, and also by also elevating the voices and the needs of the marginalized and marginalized communities, survivors of unsafe abortion, victims of unsafe abortion, because it's through the collective action that we will be able to win and change the perception. And also, we need also to reach out to broader movements and broader entities like the government representatives, and also healthcare. Like in Kenya, we do have community health promoters who work with those with them in the work that we continue doing at the community level. And also, I'm talking from a personal experience where I have been also criminalized, have been labeled before when I started doing this work of creating awareness and fighting the stigma and demystifying abortion politics. We in the forefront, we have been labeled, we have been criminalized, and I think it's important that we build intra-solidarity amongst ourselves. That is an East African thing. When one of us is at risk because of the work that they are doing, at least we have a platform and a safe space, and a voice can amplify whatever individual stories and individual risks that we will face in future because of the work that we do, because we understand and they understand that the politics, external politics, and also geopolitics that are not friendly to bodily autonomy and external influence of our policies, especially in the Eastern Africa, where we are seeing policies that are being passed in parliament to criminalize queer people, to criminalize the people that are working on reproductive justice. It's really important that we have a solidarity, an intra-solidarity amongst ourselves. So I'll end by saying we need a localized, a people-centered approach, which is vital in ensuring that safe abortion care reaches to every woman and girl who needs it and wants to have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And I'm going to come to the audience for questions. But as I come to you, I'd like to encourage the panelists that in closing, I would like you to share with us how different sectors, that is the legal, the health, the civil society, the cultural, can collaborate more effectively, especially given the fact that the theme, which is abortion solidarity, emphasizes collective effort. So as we close this conversation, how can that collaboration happen? But also, what does that collaboration look like? Over to the audience. Do we have any questions? I need to see all the hands so that I take them at a go, and then we close and come back. So can I assume that we only have 3 hands? Going once, going twice, gone. So this is question number 1. Okay, Rose is question number 1, and then you'll be question number 2, and then you'll be question number 3.
Thank you so much. I don't know if I have questions. I do have comments though. On the first part about the impact that unsafe abortion has on this country, Guttmacher has released a report, and it shows that annually unsafe abortion costs us $14 million to treat every single year, money that could have been added to the health budget. So again, looking at the economical impact, other than having people have unsafe abortions, why don't they have safe ones? so that it becomes cheaper on the economy. The other thing is, you know, this space was convened by radical feminists. So when I was hearing the conversations around regulation, I was like, Nanangi, like there is a radical belief that women's bodies should not in any way and form be regulated, because you're presuming that women don't have the ability to decide what's good for them. You're infantilizing them. Why can't we just believe that women know what's best for them and that they can make good decisions? When we look at regulating from a feminist perspective, it's not regulating to restrict, but regulating to protect. Because you know that there are outliers who may harm someone. So you regulate in order to protect, but not to take away from people's freedoms. So any regulation that is going to put a hindrance towards my ability to exercise autonomy over my body, I am radically against. And that is something that, as the women's movement, we push forward. There is no regulation in this world that regulates men. It's not there. Even the one on circumcision for men, it is a guideline. It is, if you want, go and get circumcised. It is good for you. It will reduce HIV. Please. Then they go and beg them, give sodas and sweets. But for women, we either do it or we take you to jail. Why are we having two standards? On women's bodies, something else. On men's bodies, something else. And this is coming up again on the assisted reproductive technologies, where again they are restricting how you can give birth, when you can give birth, with who you can give birth. Like, for heaven's sake, leave us alone. Let us trust women. If we can trust women to raise children who will look after this, everyone is, my mother, I thank God for her. Then why can't you trust that same mother to decide whether or not to give birth to you? That would be my submission on that point. On the other thing, when we are talking about abortion, I don't like to talk about it as an isolated incident, talking about it as if it comes outside the ambits of motherhood. When a person is making a decision to have an abortion, there are so many things that come into play: finances, economics, so the support system that is surrounding you. As a country, how are we taking care of our mothers? Are we giving sufficient maternity leave? Are we giving social security? If a mother has to give birth to a child but doesn't get a check every month from the government to enable her look after this kid, especially if she's unemployed, what decision is she going to make when it comes between an abortion and giving birth? So we should look at, as a country, if we are saying that we are pro-life, which we claim to be in the Geneva Consensus Declaration, we should look at it and say, how are we strengthening motherhood in this country? Are we ably supporting women to give birth and nurture and look after children? You know how expensive it is, but you're not doing anything. And nowadays, you can't even voluntarily give up your child for adoption. They will arrest you for child neglect and give you back that very same child after you have been imprisoned. So why can't we put in place laws that enable women to carry out that function in the best way that they know how? So talking about abortion as if it's an isolated incident that someone can then move over from, I don't think that is right. We need to contextualize it and make sure that it's part and parcel of maternal health care, which extends beyond just giving birth. Because after giving birth, then you have to nurture and take care. But how is the state supporting us to look after our children? And then lastly, we cannot talk about abortion without addressing SGBV. We have very high rates of sexual violence in this country. 25% of teenagers are pregnant through defilement. We have over 4,000 cases of rape that are being reported every single year. And then we don't want to talk about access to safe abortion, especially for people who are getting pregnant when they don't want to. For sure, we need to treat them as a country. Those would be my submissions. I don't know if there are comments there, but they are my contributions to the
Thank you very
conversation.
much. They are submissions that are very well received, and I believe that they are a point for reflection for all of us. Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
I think mine is both a comment and maybe a question to some extent. It's on the question of beliefs. You see, these beliefs shape our biases. They shape the things we do. They shape how we respond to people, how we react, we work with them. So it is very scaring knowing that a person whose abortion is healthcare is put in charge of, giving this particular healthcare to the women. It's very, very worrying. And mine is on really addressing these beliefs and mindset change, because you see, when you're going to medical school, no one is going to ask you about your beliefs. But then you're put in charge of caring for women. You're put in charge of taking care of people who are doing something you do not believe that they should be doing, or something you think your religion is against. So at the end of the day, you're either going to let your biases win, and you'll even like do this procedure without a care, because you're thinking this person is already sinning, might as well, hurry their process to hell. Or or you might be the person who stops them from making informed choices, because we are talking about someone making an informed choice. So if my counselor is a person who is extremely religious, chances are they'll not be impartial. And once they are not, then that removes the idea of informed choices from the whole conversation. So as the doctor, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but as a doctor who also was a leader once, what are you doing to help with mindset change? Because beliefs affect us at the end of the day. They help us. They also guide how we work with people, how we react to them, what we tell them. So what are you doing beyond the idea that you've not let your conservative views cloud your judgment? That doesn't take away from the fact that you have those beliefs. What are we doing to change those beliefs? Because that is the main problem. We do not even have this law in place because of people's beliefs. So what are we doing to change that?
Thank you very much for your question, and I believe that the doctor in his closing shall also respond to that. Where was our third question?
Well, thank you so much. Once again, my name is Mercy, and I have a question for Council, Ms. Ruth Ajalo, and it's in regards to the laws. We have talked so much about how we hope that the laws are implemented, or they create these laws for us. But in Uganda, we have also seen that the challenge that we face most of the time is the implementation of these laws. So if these laws in regards to abortion are put in place, how do we see the effectiveness of the same? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe that should go to Ruth, and maybe in responding to that, it can be contextualized within Rose's question. That is a law even the way to go? Do we need a law in the first place? But Ruth will respond to that. From YouTube, we have Vince, who is saying that these are very relevant submissions. Most of the solutions given are really implementable. Other efforts are undergoing. I hope we all do our part and see this challenge resolved while we still can save girls. Thank you very much, Vince. And then we have a comment from Emmanuel Walyama, who says, I request that the Kick Abortion Stigma tournament be brought to Uganda because I believe we badly need it. Creating awareness, and I hope it can be regional. Creation of an awareness needs to be driven by so many parts of the country. But thank you and good evening. I'm enjoying the conversation. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. And from Zoom, we have a comment from Balton, who says, I think adopting safe abortion frameworks and providing services should be delivered in a responsible, compassionate, and confidential manner, prioritizing the well-being of the individuals, particularly the young and vulnerable. Advocates should refrain from going public about this because without any protocols in place, humans can tend to be unruly with this. Our daughters and sons will get involved in unsafe sexual acts while the knowledge that they can easily get out of it. Sorry for the response, but that was the moderator commenting without commenting. But I hope that Micheline can respond to that. But basically, I think the summary of Balton's message is, if abortion is made legal, if there's, if it's okay, then daughters and sons are going to get involved in conversations. Thank you very much, Hadassah. I do not know whether those are more messages coming through, but okay. So Ruth has left the meeting because she has another meeting, but thank you very much, Ruth, for being part of this conversation. So we're going to come back to Micheline, Ruth, Uganda, and we'll close with a doctor because I think he had again the most questions. But yes, and in submitting, please also make your closing remarks. Thank you. Also to remember that it is it's 4:40, so it would be good to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes or so. The media team, it would also be good if you already established where we're going to take the group photo, so that we are not thinking with you where to stand when we finish. Thank you.
I'll start with the online question or comment about how kids will have more unprotected sex because they have abortion has been legalized. I want to just state that as people that either believe abortion should be made legal or not legal, we need to stop burying our heads in the sand. Children are having sex, whether you like it or not, whether abortion is made legal or not, they will still have sex. It is in our biological systems to have sex. You hit adolescence, you will have the sex. There's children that are being raped every day, that it's not even their choice to have the sex, and yet it is still forced on them. There's kids that are being defiled every day. So the idea that legalizing abortion would essentially mean have kids having more unsafe sex, they already are. They are already having this unsafe sex. The only way that we can stop or reduce unsafe sex is to have a conversation about unsafe sex. Then we can talk about how the numbers are going to go down, but legalizing abortion will not take these numbers down. Having honest conversations will take the numbers down. About how different sectors can collaborate more effectively, I think we need to begin on acceptance. If or when these people start accepting that we need to have these conversations or this conversation about safe abortion, then the collaborations can start being a discussion. But if we are still having leaders that believe safe abortion is such a horrible idea to talk about, collaborations won't work. And what would it look like? I think if we go to a point where these sectors are willing to now have a conversation, there's someone that can actually table this in parliament and it's not just away, then I think then it will start looking like at the end of the tunnel. It will start looking like a better win. And I hope we can eventually get to a point where we don't need to have these conversations because we have won or we finally achieved something that is more tangible for the conversation now. Other than that, I am very grateful to WPI. Thank you for inviting me. It means so much to me that that you're giving us, or especially me, a platform where I get to talk about things that I am genuinely very passionate about. Thank you everyone for coming. It has been a very great conversation for me and very eye-opening. I am so grateful for it, and have a beautiful weekend.
Well, thank you. I had a question to respond to before closing, and it was about implementation of laws and how effective they will be, how can it be achieved? Well, I think I would like to say that non-implementation of laws is usually due to complacency, because if you looked around, how come other things, let's say the enforcement officers respond very fast and other things they don't? It's just complacency, it's choice, it's selective, implementation. To say, for example, if they said there was an LGBTIQ shelter here, police would even set up a barricade. They would sleep around you even for a month, They would be ready to check, to do, I don't know, is it annual examinations? I think they would want to check everyone walking the street because of the morality or the implications to, what they call things against our culture and our morality as a country. So it is selective. And non-implementation can also, it's complacency, because they have a duty. It's their mandate to, implement some of the things. So let's say if there was a law on access to abortion, of course this would be a good thing. How effective will it be? We shall sensitize people and tell them this is where you go if you need information. They will be enforcing their rights because it will be a law. Because right now what we have is we have offenses, that are criminalizing access, and that one police responds very fast. It's, one of the moral things. If you told them there was an abortion at this clinic, they will be there in 1 minute. They will mobilize themselves, they will arrest that health worker, they will whip up the girl, and they would be in police custody in less than 5 minutes. So for what they tag morality things to do with violations of culture, they are quick to respond. So for the first time, maybe we shall be, sensitizing people to actually access their rights, a right to health care, to, know that when I need this service, I'll go to this healthcare facility, I will speak to this health worker, and I will access this information. So it will just be about, giving people information, sensitizing them, and ensuring they're accessing health care. On how different sectors can collaborate, of course, this is a journey, because it's where we want to go. We want to go to a place where the conversation is across board. We don't want a place where the MP is running away and sending us to the cultural leaders. We want a place where the MP is in the same room with the cultural leader, with a judicial officer, with, everyone is in the room saying, what do we do? What can I do? How can I support this process? So it is a step-by-step where we shall start, like we do, engage them, the trainings, give them information, let them know what are we operating in the picture of what we are as a country right now without a law, to, moving on to identifying champions, to further engage, to providing information, and to finally providing platforms, because most of them will say, how do you want us to hold these meetings? We have no resources. So to support these engagements, these intergenerational dialogues, these multi-sectoral conversations, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's at district level, whether at national level, to actually provide the spaces for these different actors to have the conversation. So we shall not run away. We shouldn't run our CSOs, but also be present to ensure that this multi-sectoral conversation is happening and we are in the room to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth, and over to you.
I received a very touching question, I think from one of the colleagues that side. Of course, she asked, what are we doing? I don't think, my fifth decade means you're in your 40s now. So I've lived life, I've experienced life, I have traveled, and I've come and agreed to be where I've chosen purposefully to stay with my belief system. And my belief system is, I will subscribe to Christianity. I'm comfortable with that. I won't change to Hinduism, because I think all over the world people have their belief system and it's difficult to keep. Number two, in my perception, because that's why my education is important, there is the law. I actually don't think people should be targeting the law. That's my belief system. I think they should be targeting to decriminalize. Because even in the Bible, Jesus decriminalized something. That woman who came and people were stoning her. Like, now we've brought her, the law says this. one by one, they kept moving away when he asked them a question. And at the end, he said, do you have anybody accusing you? No. So I also don't accuse you. I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more. So, in my perception as a Christian, I will not condemn anybody. And that is my mindset. In my perception, okay, I have not condemned you also, but I make sure you don't come back. So, how do I assist you not to come back? One is information sharing. Two, as a practitioner, of course, for you may be legal people, you may be social scientists, but as a practitioner, I have my ways of making sure you don't come back. And I'll feel better about myself. So I'll take that stand there. Of course, in terms of collaboration, I think the best collaboration would be to decriminalize. That would be the biggest mindset change, I think. That you are not a criminal. She's the next, she's my daughter, she's my sister, she's my wife, she's my mother. I don't see her as a criminal. She had a social issue and something happened. Let us rehabilitate her or give her avenues to rehabilitate. So those are my values at the moment. Now, of course, usually I was in Guru a few years back. At the time I was the president of the Association of Social and Gynecologists in Uganda. And we're having this, of course, I told you I believe in rights, but not entirely. I believe in what is right. So somebody asked a question, and of course they asked me, you your beliefs and this, what if it was your daughter? I thought and said, okay, if it was my daughter, I have 3 daughters. I said, okay. I said, would you allow them to take contraception? I said, no, I will not. Would you allow them to terminate a pregnancy? I said, hell no. But I told them, if they come to you and you're the social worker, you're the doctor, make sure she comes back to me alive and well, so I can rehabilitate her. Because it's not, despite my beliefs, not important if she comes back in a coffin. Not in my interest if she comes back disabled. Give me a chance to rehab her. So wherever you're a social worker, you're a doctor, if you know she's going to come back and they abuse her, give a contraception. I will know and shout later, but she's safe and I can rehabilitate her. I can take care of her. So I think I'll close there and say, wherever we are, we have a role. Despite my beliefs, and they are very strong, by the way, but I understand the context that, okay, would I want my daughter to die? Hell no. Would I want her to suffer a disability because of unsafe abortion? No. So if she comes to you, 1 is save her life. 2, make sure she is not disabled. Saving her life may mean she also keeps the pregnancy. And saving her life may mean other things, but do your bit and send her back to me for rehab and other things. That would be my position as an individual, not for the state. For the state made the decision to continue with post-abortion care services because the answer lies outside the medical sector. But we have a way we can help you to rehabilitate people by making sure women don't die. We train the health workers the right way. If you're training the army, don't say, this guy is from Uncle, this one is from, this guy will become a rebel. So let me train him poorly. Then this one, no. Train them the same. Those who choose to do whatever they want with the information they have, that's their choice. But no woman should die because of unsafe abortion.
Thank you very much. And we come to the end. Please clap for the panelists. You're all looking very shocked. Okay. Thank you very much to all the panelists for your rich submissions. And as we close, I would like to read a statement. Actually, it's a second line in the preamble of the African Feminist Charter. And it basically reads that we recognize that the work of fighting for women's rights is deeply political, and the process of naming is political too. Choosing to name ourselves is a clear ideological position, and by naming ourselves as feminists, for us who are in this space, we politicize the struggle for women's rights. We question the legitimacy of the structure that keeps women subjugated, and we develop tools for transformative analysis and action. The work we do is deeply political, and we can have a long conversation, and part of our duty is to understand the politics. Actually, our what is it called? Our agenda is to understand the politics, and our duty is to challenge the politics on any given day. And as we come to the close of this conversation around abortion solidarity and celebrating the International Safe Abortion Day, I read that because the conversation around abortion is a very political conversation. It's about control. It's about power. You know, all the conversation, all the things we've had a conversation today about are summarized in that. And hopefully one day we can again have a longer conversation around that. But as we close, I would like to remind us of the analogy of the train when it comes to movement building and solidarity building, that as feminists, as people who are on this journey, we are all on a train, and the train is going somewhere. But that train has varied actors. There are some of us on that train who have been on the train from the day it started. And our work is, we have a duty as people who have been on that journey very long. But there are people who are also going to get off at the next bus stop. And even on this journey, we cannot criminalize them because they have chosen to get off that train. And at the next stop, there'll be people who will get onto that train, and this conversation will continue. As we build solidarity, there are people whose duty it is to teach and hold conversations like this so that knowledge continues to be built. And all of us, at the end of the day, are part of this train journey. So when we talk about abortion solidarity, may we ask ourselves today that if we are on this train, what is our duty on this train? Are we sleeping? Are we awake? Are we playing our part? Are we about to get off? Are we at the train station? Because the only way we are getting to the end of this journey is if all of us are on that train doing our work. Especially in the context of Uganda, that happens to be a deeply religious country and a deeply cultural country. That on Sunday we will go to church happily, and on Thursday we will go and visit a witch doctor without any guilt. So happy International Abortion Day, and I hope that the conversation today has been eye-opening, it has been informative, and that we will continue to build this idea, and hopefully one day we will actually celebrate the freedom of every woman's body. Thank you very much to the Women's Pro Bono Initiative. A big thank you to FarmFort, and a big thank you to my panelists, Ruth, who had to leave from Kenya. A big thank you to Micheline. Thank you for sparing time. Thank you to Ruth Ajalo from SEHAD, who came in with a wealth of information. And I also know that they are in court and continue to challenge this within the legal space. And also a big thank you to Dr. Othaniel. Yes. I need to check. Othaniel, yes, Dr. Musana, for sharing with us your knowledge, sharing with us deeply your knowledge, which also seems like a paradox, but we are happy that the knowledge was shared today. And I hope that all of you shall have a safe journey back home. The people with the cameras were supposed to get us where we are going to stand to take the picture. And so we'll be having a picture next, and then there's tea and refreshments, and I believe we'll be able to leave at leisure. Thank you, and over to you, Rose.
Usually in these spaces, we are very radicalized, but we said no. Let us try and accommodate everyone. I hope you've learned a thing or two. Thank you so much, Isabella, for the good work that you have done. You have led the panel so well. And our panelists, thank you for sharing with us and for sharing of yourselves, taking out time. We appreciate it so much. So with that, in true African fashion, I want to invite you for something to eat. You can't visit without eating anything. Our camera person has run away. But I think we have enough pictures. Don't we, Maria? We do. Yes, that is okay. So please feel free. Everything is fully paid for. I hope you have signed the registration. Please append your signature. Your monies will be dispensed to you by Monday or Tuesday at most. If not, please, you know where the office is. Feel free to storm and radically demand for what is due to you. You're supposed to sign twice, I'm told, on the registration and the transport refund. Yeah. And please sign with the number that you receive money on, not your boyfriend or girlfriend or other friend, whichever. Yeah. Thank you so much. Please, the tea.